Welcome, everybody. I thought I'd do an episode today to kind of catch us up on everything. It's been a while since I've done one. There's been a pretty busy off season. I think it'd be worth talking about all the stuff that's kind of happened in the last few months. We'll start with the big reveal, one of my favorite times of year, the draft class reveal. This draft class is pretty nasty. It has quite the selection of bats and a couple nice high ceiling arms. Not too many safe picks at the top. It seems like it's a very heavy high school bat ceiling draft, and then a couple big time raw pitching prospects. Not too many developed college guys. So we'll see how that changes if there's a couple more reports updated from the draft from some of the college arms. But for the most part, you do have some really risky but super talented high ceiling picks here. We'll kind of go over. So we'll start looking at this is the stats from the high school class, which is kind of cool, and the college class. Sorry. So you can sort by anything you want. You can see here that the league leader for the NCAA last year in home runs was Sulis. Sulis here had 21 bombs, hit 290. Doesn't have much of an eye, but he kind of has everything else. Pretty interesting player there. Another switch hitting power prospect, which is cool. Chris Piper, one of the best prospects in the draft. This guy has some big time contact and power. He was second place with 19 home runs in NCAA last year. Walks quite a bit more. Big time ratings across the board there. Just doesn't run very well. Pretty solid defender at first base too. Big athletic guy for first baseman. They're 6'8". This guy is one of the best prospects in the draft. Looks like Steve Storr. Big time hit tool. Guy has some really good base running. Really good athleticism for a third baseman there. Kind of like a fringe third baseman, first baseman. Probably good enough, definitely good enough to stick at third base in the long run, though, if he was to go down just a bit. If maybe my scout was off and that arm wasn't quite as good as it said, it might be more of a first baseman, which is fine because the bat plays anywhere. One of the best bats in the draft. Guy had 18 home runs. One of the best contact tools you'll see in college. 40 current contact. He hit 340, 320 last year, so you like to see that improvement. Really big time bat there. So Storr reminds me of one of those, a couple of those guys in real life that have gone really high. Those corner bats in the last few years, like Andrew Vaughn, that guy that went to the Marlins last year in real life from LSU. A couple just really advanced, kind of big time corner bats. Next up, we have Caesar here, a 21-year-old kind of 60 power tool, more of a first baseman, it looks like. Pretty big time gap power there. Chris Lyle, another big bat. So that's kind of like the home run leaders there. If you look across the board here to batting average, this is kind of flawed. Obviously, it can be all the high school guys, but we could actually sort by the college guys after. But one of the best prospects in the draft, really, really high ceiling, probably the highest ceiling guy in the draft, was Danny Lambert. This guy's a second baseman from the looks of it. Probably play third base too. Looks like a really good second baseman though. Big time contact. The guy hit 573 and 550 his last 2 years of high school, which is absolutely ridiculous. He had 1600 and 1700 OPSs. It's just the most ridiculous stats you've ever seen. 12 home runs, only 24 games, 120 plate appearances. Doesn't walks quite a bit for a high school guy. Doesn't strike out a ton for a big power bat. You just have to look at that and see. You get high work ethic, high intelligence, high adapt. Some of the most important ones there. Just everything you look for. Again, really raw, but it's going to be tough to pass on him at first overall. Guy that hits 550 in high school, just ridiculous. Again, high school stats aren't very reliable, but when you just compare it to everybody else, how much of a tier he's in by himself, it's just not even close. There's just a ton of guys that hit in the high 470s, 460s, but just then you just get the three guys over 500, and then he's like 30 points better than everybody, 35 points better than everybody. So just a ridiculous, ridiculous bat there. You got couple guys that hit some major gap power here, like Chad James, a bunch of triples there. So it's just some cool stats to look at. Across the board there, if you look at the WAR leaders, you get Chet Hoyles at second. This guy's kind of like a that Yankees catcher here, kind of big power bat, kind of more of a first base DH type, but someone might think his bat's good enough to survive a catcher. So below average defender there. You got Eddie Lang here, big time bat. A couple of high school guys with 40 hit tools, which is ridiculous. I don't know if my scout's just a little high on them. If those are legitimate though, that's just ridiculous. Serrano, a couple big catcher bats here. It's kind of one thing I wanted to focus on. There's some ridiculous talent at catcher in this draft. If you look at the contact here, Havard, you get a catcher with 75 contact, 65 home run power. That's very high accuracy too, so that's pretty ridiculous. 55 ability. unbelievable talent. He's going to be probably in the running for a top 3 or 5 pick there. Just an absolute monster. And then you got Bubba Gilvin here, just a ridiculous talent. Also, huge, huge, huge ratings across the board there. Just amazing. And then there's a couple other good catchers here that I really like too. Brad Williams, big time high school bat for a catcher, just amazing. So yeah, and then Serrano was the other one. Yeah, so really good catcher prospects in this draft. And then arm wise, we have some ridiculous arms here. You look at Jeremy St. Pierre, kind of the Danny Lambert of the pitchers of this draft. Those are probably the two highest ceiling talents, both really risky. St. Pierre has a 28 changeup, which is terrifying, which is where most of that stuff potential comes from. So you see the kind of the two bad leadership intelligences on orange, which you don't like to see. You see a lot of things that kind of scare you a little bit, like the third pitch being so risky and the lower currents on stuff and control. But as as a whole, if that guy gets anywhere close to his ceiling, 80, 75 stuff and movement, he's just ridiculous. And worst case scenario, I think if the changeup doesn't come, he's still a really good reliever with a 60 and a 70 pitch as a fastball slider guy in the bullpen. So kind of risky, but at the same time, like I said, with that high end relief pitcher upside, he could still be not as risky as maybe he'd look, but definitely risky as a starting pitcher. And then after that, you have another really, really high ceiling talent here in Kevin Kimball. Monster talent, over the top curveball slider, 80 and 75 for those breaking pitches there, and then you get 45-70 fastball, which will just light guys up in the low minors. I could see this guy flying through rookie ball there with that fastball and how hard he throws as a high school guy. You could just go to rookie ball and strike everybody out, and then the pretty good currents for a high school guy there. So a lot to like, and he's a lefty, so pretty ridiculous ceiling out of Kimball. I actually might like him a little better in St. Pierre if I was picking at the top, but I try to avoid those high school arms, even though I took one last year pretty high. Always kind of risky taking those guys unless you really, really, really like them. So just some really good players here. Manny Soria, monster talent too across the board. A couple high stuff guys here. You get a couple more guys down here. Catalano, another interesting guy. Really, really, really high ratings across the board there. 6'2" lefty, pretty beastly. So really cool to see some of the guys here. If you look at the mock draft for me, has Lambert Pierre kind of at the top here, along with Prezzo Piora here. This guy is ridiculous. I had a 40 hit tool on him recently and went down. Could play third base. Big time bat, really high currents for a high school guy. So this is another guy that probably is looking like a top 5 or 6 pick. Really, really, really talented guy. And then the other big bat, this guy, that's some of the best power I've ever seen. I've had a 35-80 on it for like a year straight. It's never changed with very high accuracy. So double-digit home runs in each year of high school, always hitting the mid 400s. Probably not as good of a hit tool as it would say. Most high school guys with that good of a hit tool that have 36.5 should hit a little better than that with average competition. So I'd imagine my scout's probably a bit too high in the contact, but you never know. It doesn't really matter though. When a guy's 35-80 power, that's some ridiculous power. Like if you look at Chris Burns hits like 65 home runs every single season the last couple of years, and he's got that 75 power with only a 40 hit tool. So if you got to imagine if you have a guy that gets anywhere close to like a 50 or 60 hit tool with that kind of power, that's the kind of offensive upside we're talking about there with a similar profile as a righty bat. So pretty monstrous talent there. It's tough to take a DH first base type really high in the draft sometimes, but he might be worth it. The other elite talent I saw was Vince Holloway. Vince Holloway has one of the best hit sticks you'll ever see. The guy hit just about 500 every single year of high school. He hit 20 home runs over the 4 years, a couple stolen bases. Really, really high level second baseman. Probably there's like a small percent chance he could grow into a shortstop, but you probably like him better as a high range second baseman. Really, really ridiculous to have 45 hit tool as a high school guy, though. Very, very, very rare. And you have the 50 void K. So one of the safest prospects you'll ever see from a super high end guy. So it's going to be really tough to pass on him in the top 3, I'd say. He might even be the first pick. It's just a ridiculous potential. That's like some Royce Lewis type stuff in the middle of the field when you got like the 60 range with that good of a hit tool and big time power. 25-60 is always iffy, but it looks like it might be legitimate. Like 6 home runs from middle infielder in high school per season is pretty good. Also, looks like he has high intelligence. That hasn't come up yet, but it should be green there when you look at the personality comment there. So, if anything, I'd probably like this guy as much as anyone from committed to Coastal Carolina there, but he won't see the college campus. I don't think. This guy is just ridiculous. So him and Lambert, just like I said, some really high end high school bats here between him, Lambert, and Middleton. And then you got a couple big time college bats on the corner bats there. Really crazy talent too. And Bobby Valdez, this guy, my OSA has mocked in the top 5. Pretty ridiculous ceiling out of him too. So that's enough talking about future stuff. If we go back to the offseason center, you look at some of the contracts here. Offseason started pretty big bang here with Texas coming up with Bryce Ball here. This guy had 60 home runs, pretty much like the real life Aaron Judge hitting for agency, where he almost went to San Fran and stayed with the Yankees in our league. Looks like Bryce Ball actually made the jump here after the 62 home run season. The guy went and took big time money for a 4-year contract, 34-year-old playing Texas, which is cool to see. Texas has really had some bad offense last year, so I see why he's frustrated with that and goes and signs a couple big time bats there, which is cool to see. A couple other big time signings here. You got San Francisco getting this really nice pitcher here. Really like him. 5-pitch mix here, big stamina, really nice, consistent dude there. If you look at the other big contracts here, you got Atlanta brings back Cesar Soto. They also brought back their other deadline acquisition last year and Omar Fernandez, so bring back a couple arms there. The great Mike Trout going to Toronto. Uh, this is going to be interesting. He's 9 home runs short of the all-time record, and he has regressed down to 45 power, so it's going to be tough. If a 45 power guy with 35 contact got to get about 500 at bats, you'd think ratings-wise that'd probably be maybe like just about the 10 home run mark. So it's obviously a big question mark if Toronto can get him that many at bats. It's gonna be tough to get that many at bats at this point in his career, especially if he can stay healthy and the void K has gotten so low. But he has a really good eye still, so he could actually kind of be in the lower end of that lineup and still give you a little bit of on base percentage with that eye, but doesn't really bring anything else at this point other than the nice base running. But really just a guy that you kind of sign for fanfare there and sign some jerseys and bring your fan interest there to a team that's kind of going through a rebuild and see maybe he can get enough at bats to get 10, 15 home runs, but we'll see. That's going to be tricky. I'd put the odds on that about 20%. So hopefully he gets it, though. I'm rooting for him. That'll be really cool to keep an eye on. Love the signing of Zabala going to New York, a big time range center fielder. The best catcher on the market went and signed a big deal in Washington. Ivan Herrera, big time talent still at this point in his career. 32 years old, still top 5 catcher for sure. Absolute awesome talent there. Helps Washington for sure. Other big time contracts signed. I love the Philly bringing in another power bat infielder, Drew Baker, 60 power bat, middle infielder there. Dylan Ray signs a big contract here. Sorry, not that big actually. Pretty good value for Cincy. $12 million a year for 2 years. Pretty big time talent for what he produced in Oakland there. Had a little rough go there once he got traded to Atlanta at the deadline, but once he gets settled for a full year in one spot, might play back to what he played in Oakland there and a little bit better. Next up, we have Atlanta brought in another nice bat there, Drew Waters in the outfield. If you're looking, I'm just kind of looking at the double-digit signings here, so it doesn't take too long to go over everybody. JJ Bleday, big-time signing Colorado. You just look at that talent, and you just know that bat in Colorado is going to put up some major numbers. So pretty good signing there. 17 million wouldn't shock me one bit. That guy goes in and has like a 5-WAR season just with what Colorado does to guys' bats, with how good his overall profile is. Still a really good athlete at his age. Still a really good defender. So plays a high-level right field or something like that. He's going to be real good. Kind of closer to the end of the offseason, we had a lot of signings here. Vargas, one of the best shortstops, second baseman on the market. He went and signed a big deal to replace that nice big time 75I guy they had at shortstop in St. Louis. Nice backloaded contract there, 7, 11, 13 with a team option for year 4. Really nice value there. He was valued like 25 a year at the start of free agency, and no one signed him, so he got a really good deal being patient on that. Ryan Villaday, I was trying to sign him. I liked him a lot. He got a nice deal in Atlanta. Hansel Rodriguez also started the offseason with like a $24 million demand. Everyone was patient on him and waited for his demand to go down, and he got kind of a steal there. 3-WAR season last year out of a nice vet righty that's really consistent for $8 million. It's a pretty awesome deal there. And then you got Rafael Morel at $38 million for nice, interesting couple player options here in the 3-year contract for San Diego. Lost a little bit of range in the offseason. I had him go down from 70 to 65, but still a really, really good defending shortstop with a pretty nice above average bat for a shortstop. Shortstop that gets almost 100 WRC plus every single season is pretty awesome there. So really nice value. Looks like there. Nick Lodolo in Colorado, that's a nice deal. You like to see those high movement guys go there. Nice signing in Nashville. Again, another pitcher, veteran pitcher, Logan Webb. They have a lot of young pitchers, so they went for a couple nice 1-year deals on Hansel and Logan. Would give those prospects one more year in AAA there. And then you got a little bit farther down here. One of the best steals of free agency is San Diego snagging this my guy here. Pretty ridiculous to get a 2.5 WAR pitcher for under $4 million. That's a pretty nice steal there. Really good against certain types of batters there. One side of the plate, like he struggles a little bit against lefty bats, but he's really good against righty bats. So nice, nice fit there in San Diego. I think that's going to be a really nice value. The big one to talk about is obviously we haven't got to yet is Reese Ladd here. Reese Ladd got a big time. You got a couple teams like the Mets and Boston, kind of with big time budgets there going after him in the offseason. It's not very often an elite arm like this hits free agency with like 65 stuff, 60 movement, bunch of pitches, lefty in his prime, has multiple good years before he gets real old. So the value just went crazy on that, but I can see why that happened. You don't want to cheap out and lose out on a 5 or 6 WAR ace. And if you think about historically, some of those really big elite aces that hit free agency in the middle of their careers, it's usually worth it. It's really like Max Scherzer kind of thing, and you get a chance to get like a Randy Johnson. He changed teams a couple times in his prime there. Just was absolutely worth it for every team he went to. Roger Clemens signing with Toronto and New York just put up some monster seasons in his prime. So it's just not very often you get a guy that elite. So just the value went crazy there because there's so many teams that have big budgets with an opportunity to sign him. So ton of money, the biggest free agents per year deal in Major League history. But we'll see if he can put up 4 or 5 more seasons in Boston. Pretty amazing amount of money there. And then Louis Arias goes to Texas, so they get two of the best bats in free agency. Bryce Ball with a big time power, and then Louis Arias with a big time hit tool and on base percentage. The guy hit 382 in 150 plate appearances once he got traded last year to Philly. So just a ridiculous bat, even at 35 years old. Just kills righty pitching. 80 avoid K, 70 contact, big time eye, a bunch of gap power. So he's not going to hit you any home runs, but he's going to get on base a ton. And again, Texas really needed offense the last couple of years, so bringing in Ball and Arias is a pretty big, fresh breath of air. So that's pretty cool for them. And then you get Wenzel Perez here, big time shortstop talent, one of the best shortstops in the league. Historically, has put up a ton of good seasons. As 80 range still, one of the few shortstops in the league with 80 range still. I think it's now just down to him and the guy in Montreal there, Luke Leto. I don't know if anyone else has 80 range anymore. A couple of those guys that were 80 range fell to 70 and 75. So Perez at 33 years old, still one of the best defensive shortstops in the league, and has a big time bat. So that's just a really talented dude. A little bit of an injury risk there, but everyone is once they get old. The other big time free agency acquisition here was big time talent going to Boston. They paid a lot of money for him and Ladd, but I could see why. This guy's got 65 power. I know Gamma's scout was even higher than mine. I think he said he had like a 65, 70 contact on him potential with like 70 power potential. So with that and having such a ridiculous outfield arm, high leadership, a lot of stuff to like. Plus, he's only 26 years old with options. Since he come from overseas, still has 3 options. So just a lot of really cool things about that profile. So we'll see if he can live up to the hype. If his scout is right about that, and he's actually that good. We'll see. I don't know if I went over Willie here. Willie signed a big time deal in Philly. Philly had a shitload of money. They let Bryce Ball walk, so they didn't want to get in the $40 million a year type thing for first base there, since Chris Burns kind of fit there. So they made a really nice trade. I like, probably my favorite trade of the offseason, trading for an elite defensive center fielder, and then they had money to bring back Ravilla. Ravilla is probably the best defensive third baseman in baseball. Put up some amazing seasons over the last 5 or 6 years. So just an incredible third baseman, one of the best in the league. So that was pretty cool also. And then if you look down here, just trying to see if I missed anything. Another big time deal. Philly bringing in the best reliever on the market here. Itorino here, big time talent. He comes in at like $15 million a year. So that was a pretty solid deal there for a guy in his prime, also at 29 years old. So Philly bringing in some big talent there on top of an already really good team. So they're going to be good again this year. It's going to be tough to knock them out. So bunch of big time free agency acquisitions this year, and a couple of nice catchers too. My boy Kyle Teal going to the Angels, which I kind of like. So I won't have time to go over everything else. Oh, Texas, by the way, bringing another nice bat. Probably the top 5 offensive catcher in baseball, Daniel Susac. Really liked him. So one of the better catchers coming in at a 2-year deal there. You got 3-year deal, actually $7 million a year, which is nice to see. So Texas really looking to improve their position players this year. But yeah, that'll be it for this episode. I just kind of wanted to review everything. right before we start free agency here. Maybe make another episode in a couple days. We'll talk about the preseason, see who's looking like the kind of standouts teams this year and who's looking to compete for a championship. But yeah, it's kind of fun to just to catch up here a little bit in the offseason and refresh everyone on what happened in free agency and get a kind of quick preview of the draft class, which is kind of fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. See ya.